We do start this half hour with a closer look at the top political headlines this week. And joining us are Deputy Political Director Averi Harper and ABC White House Correspondent MaryAlice Parks. As always, welcome back. Good morning to you both. Okay. Averi, let's start with you. We've been talking about the big debate coming up, simulcast on CNN and right here on ABC as well, between President Biden and former President Donald Trump. Both are putting in the prep time right now, but talk about what's at stake for these candidates.
I mean, this is a high-stakes matchup just for President Biden and for former President Trump. You have to remember, this is the last time the American people saw these two go head-to-head was back in 2020, and a lot has changed about the country since then. And so it'll be interesting to see exactly how it all shakes out. I think a lot of this is going to be about dissecting each of these candidates' records. It's really unusual to have two candidates who have served in the office running for it. Yeah. And so for Biden, I think it's going to be about really trying to hone in on what he describes as the chaos of the Trump years. And for former President Trump, he's going to be looking to seize on what he describes as the failures of the Biden administration.
And so, MaryAlice, when you were on earlier in the show, you mentioned that the format of the debate and how it's going to be different. There also won't be an audience. How could that format impact what happens on stage?
Yeah, these were the Biden campaign conditions. They were their terms for agreeing to a debate. No studio audience, like you said. The Trump team, in theory, won't be able to play off of that energy. We've seen Trump in the past kind of feed off of a crowd, make things a little bit more chaotic. And the moderators are going to be able to turn the microphones off. So, in theory, a lot less of a shouting match. We've seen in the past some of the other people that have gone up against Trump really flustered when he just interrupts nonstop, sort of interrupts moderators, interrupts other people. So the Biden team wanted these conditions. In some ways, that kind of raises the stakes, I think, for President Biden. If he set the stage, he should be able to do a little bit better. But big picture, they think then they're hoping, at least, that this makes the conversation more about policy. You know, I'm thinking about the fact that the Biden team is often talking about voters under 26. 26. A voter under 26 could not vote in 2016 when Trump was first on the ballot. There are also voters that the Biden team often relies on. And they think that if the policy discussion is really central, what Trump thinks on climate change or guns or abortion, that will bring some of those young voters back to the Democratic Party. We'll see.
It's going to be so interesting to watch. And Averi, let's turn to the Supreme Court, because Whit was just talking about the court upholding that federal gun control law. What other decisions could we expect? Because it's been a really big week.
Right. Some of the biggest cases are still outstanding. One is abortion related. In Idaho, there is this near total abortion ban. And the Biden administration did sue, saying that that ban conflicts with a federal law that requires that emergency room physicians give stabilizing care to patients. And so that could have far-reaching impacts, especially in states where we see some of these strict abortion bans. And of course, we're also waiting on the presidential immunity case, whether or not former President Trump can be criminally prosecuted for his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Lots of folks are going to be watching that. That is a case of historic proportions.
Let's stay on the Supreme Court, MaryAlice. We know that former President Donald Trump was able to appoint 3 Supreme Court justices during his term, giving the court that conservative majority. But how is the makeup of the court right now playing out on the campaign trail?
Democrats are talking about it all the time. I mean, yesterday you were talking about that case they upheld where domestic abusers could not receive guns, and there were restrictions against domestic abusers. The Biden campaign said, look, that's the kind of case that should have never been brought up. The only reason it was even in question was because a lower court, the Fifth Circuit, had some Trump appointees that overturned those restrictions for domestic abusers. And the Biden campaign is saying this is exactly why they think he deserves a second term. Judicial appointees, not only to lower courts, but potentially to the Supreme Court. They're hitting that not only with guns, but of course with abortion. This coming week is actually the 2-year anniversary of the Dobbs decision, which overturned Roe v. Wade. And Democrats are leaning into that very heavily. They're having events all around the country in 30 states. They're trying to make it very clear that they are on the side of reproductive rights, and that exactly that ability to appoint justices, to appoint judges, is exactly why voters should pick him. So they're making this central to their campaign.
We'll see how that message resonates with the voters in the months ahead. MaryAlice Parks, Averi Harper, as always, thank you so much. And remember, Thursday night on ABC, you can watch the CNN presidential debate simulcast. It all starts at 8 p.m. Eastern with the ABC News special Race for the White House with David Muir and the ABC News political team. Again, that's Thursday night right here on ABC.